told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away, as you fade away.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're out in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Welcome to another episode of Jag Nation. This is Ray Cruz. I am coming from you to live in Jacksonville at my home studio here on the All Sports All Plays Network. I'm ready to get fired up for the Jaguar season to start here. We got a preseason game coming up on Saturday. Right now they're up in the Atlanta area practicing with the Atlanta Falcons. That's where the last preseason game for the Jaguars will be. They're doing a joint practice right now with the Atlanta Falcons up in Atlanta. So we are getting ready for this coming up preseason game and stuff like that. So let's move right along in here right now. I'm just coming to you. Just got finished eating dinner and stuff like that. So I maybe thought I was going to push the show back to Friday, but I made it in time. So we got all the Jaguar fans hopefully on board here tonight to listen to this broadcast. Sunday night, we are live at 9:30 to 11 o'clock. 9:30 to 11 o'clock on Sundays. That's the highlight show to go back and talk about what the Jaguars did during the games on Sunday. And tonight is leading up into the preseason game up on Saturday. So we'll talk about that a little bit here. Right now, a little bit of notice of the Jaguars. They released 5 players, came off the wires. The offensive line, B.O. Bashaw was waived. Cornerback Shabar Davis, tight end Grayson Gunner, offensive line, outside linebacker Wyatt Ray was waived, wide receiver Lou Winningham, and wide receiver Marvin Hall. So not too much noticeable people are being released. Right now they had to get down to an 80-man roster, so they had to release 5. They did back up the quarterback Lucan that they released early on in the last week. And they picked him out because Beathard is still coming back from his injury. He didn't look too good on that preseason game against Pittsburgh on Saturday night. So they went on ahead and signed insurance for backup till they can figure that Beathard is going to be okay to back up Trevor Lawrence. So that's going to be that's the news right there coming into this game here. Let's take a look here. I've seen some information that's coming around. Some of the Jaguar Nation thing, they're talking about, certain things that went on with the Jaguars and talking about Trevor Lawrence. And this one article I found was actually a very, very good read here. I found it off the Bleacher Report, but it was a good one. Gus Lugan and the Big Country, they wrote about the Jaguars trying to root for the team. I think this year could be more a good time for us to root, because I think we have a good coach that's in there in place. The people down in the Jaguar TIAA Bank Stadium in the last few weeks, last few times I've been down there the last 2 weeks for the preseason games, it's been optimistic by the fans. Have been hearing around talking. And when you look at the preseason game, like I told you on Sunday, you got to judge the starters against the starters. And you can't judge the starters against the second string, third string, and stuff like that, because stuff get checked. Look at the Jaguar against Cleveland. They were winning in that ball game, but they put their second and third string in, and they gave up the lead on that. But the first string held Cleveland to 7 yards total, and you got to be very happy with that performance there, outplaying Deshaun Watson and stuff like that up in the first part of the thing. So you got to understand that's got to be a good barometer there. And then Pittsburgh, they moved right up. The offense struggled a little bit, but they were leading up till the halftime part where they threw that big interception and it turned the momentum of that game around against Pittsburgh. So, but they had a chance to win it at the end. The missed field goal wide, right? So they were talking about the imperfection and the perfection that Trevor Lawrence was struggling. When they got down into the red zone, they got to find a way to push the ball into the red zone. When they get the red zone, they got to find a way to push it into the end zone. They got to find that next level. They got to find a way of this team maturing and starting to win like the 2017 team did. They had to learn how to win. And that's the culture that is not. We're coming from a losing culture back from that winning season in 2007 back to that losing culture, and then now we're trying to build back into that thing. And I think the nucleus is there, but we need to get some. We're still struggling in that offensive line at the right tackle position, so we have to look at the right tackle position here. Coming in here, they got two guys, Fallon Taylor and the guy from Wisconsin. They're battling each other, so I think that's good competition right there because you could have your first and second string right there locked up on that tackle. So that's something that you got to really like about the Jaguars is they're getting competition here, but the cornerback position is a little still shaky right now. I think they got the good front seven. I think when we see Lord come in and started getting a little bit of depth there, I think the line is situated. I think we're going to see a little bit of some from Chason. I think he's going to prevail a little bit under Doug Peterson, and then Allen they switched Allen around a couple of times in that Pittsburgh game, and he looks comfortable on the right side than what he did on the left side. And then Walker looks strong on the right side, but he's struggling on the left side. They're trying to defend that, and Walker has shown up in the last three preseason games. The one at Hall of Fame game, he was all over the field there. His name's come up in the Cleveland game. His name came up in the Pittsburgh game. That's what you want to see out of your first round draft pick is him getting noticeable. Will that translate into the regular season? That's got to be the key coming in Jagland here. Is he going to stay where he can? Because 17 games is a long time. You only play 14, 15 games in college. So you play in the extra 2 games, but you also got these preseason games that you had to get into. So, we hope we don't get in that slump and following stuff. We got to prevent injuries. We got to be a nucleus of a team here. We got to play strong. We can't turn the ball over because we have that in that efficiency where we turn the ball over, we can recover. And when we do get turnovers, we have to punch it into the end zone. We cannot settle for field goals and try to win games that way because you cannot win games solely on field goals unless your defense is playing lights out, keeping them in base. So that's something that we've got to look at here. And two, can Trevor Lawrence move the ball down the field? I like some of the pass plays they did in the first 2 preseason games. They went down long and got some completions there because Trevor Lawrence can throw the ball deep. I think instead of these wide receiver screens that they ran mostly last year, trying to you got to run them a little bit, but you can't run them all the time. And you kind of run them at a certain point that you can get defense to thinking that you're going to actually go deep, and then you just throw it down the line and let them set the blocks up. So that's a little bit of issues that we got coming into this to regular season and coming out of this preseason. We're not scoring a lot of touchdowns. We scored a lot. We scored at least 1 touchdown in 3 games, but we need to score more than 1 touchdown. We need to put the ball in the end zone, and we need to put it in the end zone good. And if Trevor Lawrence can get going like he did in Clemson and like he did in the last part of the season, I think the Jaguars got a good quarterback coming into this season. So I think we're going to see what he can progress. We understand the word is the second year slump, blah, blah, blah. They said quarterbacks are not ready for 3 or 4 years. I think Trevor Lawrence is that talent. I think he's that rare form of that one generation type player, but he's got to prove it on the field. And that's something we can see the broadcasters and stuff like talk about it. But we need to see the results on the field. We need to see him punch that ball into the end zone. We need to score. The Jaguars need to just get up there and start scoring, not winning games 21-3, not winning or 21-16, or not winning the game. We're not scoring but 7 points and losing the game 35-7. We're tired of that. We wanted to see that Urban Meyer debacle is a debacle. We need to let that go and pass us by. That is totally a debacle. That Urban Meyer was a total disaster. I don't want to see that ever happen again. We got Doug Peterson in. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. He got fired from the Eagles. He was out for a year or so, and then now the Jaguars picked him up and got him. So now we got a Super Bowl title coach. Can he produce what he did up in Philly, bring it down here, and turn the Jaguars into that monopoly of a Super Bowl contender? Jaguars had not been to a Super Bowl in their franchise history. We did get up to the AFC Championship, and we know the process of 2017. Miles Jack wasn't down. We know that, and that cost us a little bit of a earning of getting into this first Super Bowl of it. Now we got to turn this stuff around and we suffered from losing season, losing season, losing season. Now we got to turn around and jump back up in there and get back in that form of winning. We got to have a winning culture, and that's something that Doug Peterson's been dressing here in Jacksonville. Every time you see his press conference on Jags TV, is he's saying we got to build a winning culture. That's the only thing you can do here is you got to build a winning culture. We got to bring people where they want to come to Jacksonville. And right now, the culture is they don't want to come here because, we're a bottom stellar team, and now we need to put it where we can start building this up tier by tier by tier to where we can get playoffs, and then we get people coming down here, and then man, we could be in these conversations for playoffs year after year after year. But we can't get ahead of ourselves right now because right now he is just building the blocks right now. He has his first draft class this year. So, I mean, he's still playing with a little bit of Urban Myers and stuff like that, trying to get people in right positions and stuff like that. But I think Doug Peterson's on the right track here to get us into that realm of thinking of being so great for being there for a Jaguar fan. So let's go ahead and move on a little bit here. Let's see here. They went on ahead in this article read by Jacksonville fans are using wicket every time a defender raises his hands with the ball in mid-flight. It was fair to assume that the Jaguars quarterbacks from the past were taking the risk by throwing the head of the sticks, but Lawrence is different. And I agree with some of these concepts where they were talking about how we throw the ball down, deep and stuff like that. But, Trevor Lawrence he's good about it. He's methodical. He's thinking. I know he had 13 interceptions last year. He's still kind of green in the NFL. I think the game is starting to get a little bit slower for him. So he should have a better season. I like to see his ratio right now be 24, 25 touchdowns to maybe one or maybe 3 or 4 interceptions at the most. But we cannot have him getting in double figures of interceptions. That means we were losing the game badly. So that's something that we have to look about here in this area of concentration for the Jaguars and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what we're talking about here, and that's the joint practice up in Georgia right now. They are practicing with the Atlanta Falcons. Their last preseason game is Saturday at 3:00 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium up in Atlanta. So let's go ahead and see what we can talk about here on this thing here. So let's see here. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. We got some technical difficulties here on my notes sections here. So let's take a look here what we got to talk about here today and stuff like that. So the head of the preseason Saturday, the Jacksonville Jaguars will go up into Atlanta where they are at right now for joint practices up in Georgia on Wednesday and Thursday. These practices will give both teams valuable receptions against opponents that they haven't faced before in training camp. And that's a key too. Training camp, man, you hitting each other. You had no chance to hit different people and stuff like that. So I mean, that is something that we have to talk about in this thing here. Now they get different people that can hit. They haven't hit these people before, so they're getting ready to get this stuff going. So I mean, this is going to be good. This has got to be a good feeling for the Jaguars to hit some other people besides their own players, and so does Atlanta. So Atlanta gets to practice against a Jaguar team. Hopefully the Jaguar defense and stuff like that is good. So it's got to be the way the Jaguars and envisions here is they got to go up in Atlanta. We probably won't see none of the starters because this is the last preseason game. So we probably won't see none of the starters and stuff like that. Joe Daniel said this whack, of course, a team got to score. Yes, it does, Joe. I mean, this team has got to really got to put some points on the board this year. We cannot be going into the fourth quarter, down 35-0. I think we're going to be in most of these games this year. I think this is a different feeling that we have down in TIAA Big Stadium. I think this is not what we seen with Urban Myers. I think it's totally different than what we see with Urban Myers. I think this is night and day. I think that the fans are starting to get behind get behind Doug Peterson and the Jaguars this year. I hope it's not fool's gold, but once again, you gotta build and win the culture. That you're coming from a losing culture, now you got to build a winning culture back. So, I mean, you got to tell at the end the Jaguars really do that. That's got to be the barometer of this thing. Can they go up into Atlanta and try to pull at least one preseason victory out? But it's going to be hard because you got to look at what you're looking for in this last preseason game is who they going to make the 53-man roster. And so they got to look at the backups here. They got to look at the third string, the fourth string people, and see which ones they got to cut. On Tuesday, Tuesday at 4 o'clock is the deadline. To cut people out and get your 53-man roster in about 4 o'clock. So I mean, that's got to be something that you need to have. And this last preseason game, we got to figure out who's going to be on this 53-man roster, who's going to be fill out depth chart. I mean, right now, you look at the corners. The corners are very solid in the first string, but when you get past them, they jump off a little bit. They're not a very stout corner position and safety position in the secondary, but that front seven could be solid as long as we don't bar any kind of injuries. Getting thank God, hopefully, don't get none of that. And then you got Walker and you got Allen. I think Allen and Walker is going to be a good tandem team here, and it's going to cause a lot of trouble because you can move Allen to the right side and put Walker onto the left side. And now who you gonna have to go up against and stuff like that. And so it's gonna be a very two-tailed of a team that we gotta see here. What we're gonna mix up with the defense. The wide receiver, Shea Jones has got to step up. Marlon Jones has got to step up. Kirk has got to come in here. We paid Kirk heavily out of Arizona. He had a light season in Arizona. He comes here. He's going to have to be that number one. He's going to have to turn himself into a number one wide receiver. He's got to catch, and he did a very good job against Pittsburgh. Caught a couple passes down the middle. He did drop one, stuff like that. So he has to get a thing. Who's going to be our vertical threat? Kirk's got to get that vertical threat going down too. So I mean, we got to have an intermediate stuff, and then Marvin Ingram. Bar any kind of injury for Marvin Ingram will be a big upgrade in that tight end position that the Jaguar hasn't had in a while. And I think could be a start of Marvin Ingram here if he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, we have a mismatch in that tight end position day. We can bring him out wide or we can bring him in. But the good thing with Marvin Ingram is he's a good pass blocker. So we won't have to trade him out and say, hey, we're going to run. We need to trade him out. He can stay in there and be a good, effective pass rusher, pass blocker too. And he could be a good, run tight end too. So he can get out there and he can sneak out and boom, you throw a little pass to him and he turns it into a mismatch. Boom, he got down the field. So that's something the Jaguars need to learn and need to go incorporate a little bit more, getting into the tight end and letting the tight end do different things that they need to do and then mix them up a little bit here. And that's going to you can't really tip your hand off when Ingram's in the game because you don't know if they're going to pass or run because he's that good of a tight end. But like I said, he has to bar injuries. If he don't have injuries and he stays in the thing, I think Trevor Lawrence has got a good nucleus in that tight end position. And then Travis Etienne, he's been looking great here in the last 2 preseason games, coming back from his injury. Looks like he can cut and stuff like that. And I like the one play that he did against Pittsburgh was he looked like he was going to lose about 5 or 6 yards. And I know it was about a 1 or 2 yard gain, but he turned that into a gain, into a positive, not a loss. And that's what you like for a running back is trying to get into the position to get up the field. And when James Robinson comes back, that could be a good 1-2 punch here for the Jaguars, but they're not like an interchangeable thing because they both got susceptible speed. Travis Etienne's a little bit faster, but Robinson is more of a bruiser. And so you got your Thunder and Lightning, that could be in that very realm of things. So let's see how it's going to turn out here. I don't think we're going to see James Robinson in the preseason game. I don't think we'll see him in this game here. Like I said, they're probably they're not going to party. We probably won't even see the starters. I don't think the starters will play in this ball game. If they do, they probably play one or 2 series and get them out, get them ready for the home opener on 9/11. Going on the road to the Washington Commanders on 9/11. They're going up to Landover, Maryland to play them on the first game of week 1 of regular season. So, I mean, that's a very winnable game right there too against the Commanders. If they can get up there and play their game and score some points and not settle for field goals every time, I think the Jaguars could be up there, and I think they can win their opening game against Commanders. So tonight, this game right here is going to prove a point for the backups. These got to be the backups games. This is the game that they got to impress. Well, either you got to impress our coach or something you got to put on tape that you can put around the NFL and somebody pick you up off the waivers, off the cut list. So that's something that the Jaguars and their fans and stuff like that is really, really keeping on and looking at for the most part of this last preseason game. Atlanta's doing the same thing. I don't know if they're going to play any of their starters. They're looking at backups too, and this is also the Jaguars are looking at some of their players too. On who's going to be telling if they can pick up somebody off that waiver and cut somebody and pick somebody up off these teams. So this is another thing too for them. They have to go out and their scouting department has to be a really good scouting department, and they got to go out and scout these players that they're letting go and see if they can find something that fit their scheme to help them in the depth chart. That's got to be something they got to really concentrate and really think about here, is getting some depth in these corners, get some depth in these linebackers, get some depth in the defensive line, especially get some depth in that offensive line and running and wide receiver. So that's something that you really want to think that the Jaguars are scared of is their wide receiving core is kind of not deep. Their corners are not up really that deep either, but this is one of the weakest parts. And their offensive line, again, you got Cam Robinson is on the left side blocking Trevor Lawrence's weak side, and then you got who's going to share up that right guard, that right tackle. That right tackle could be a platoon position. Taylor, and then you got from Wisconsin. So that's something that we got to look at on the offensive line too. Is can the offensive line hold up? Can the offensive line keep Trevor Lawrence not under pressure, getting him in the pocket, having a good solid pocket, getting in there, and can Trevor Lawrence make good decisions and not throw too many picks and not try to force the ball down where it's something that it's got. Some of these things have been looking good in the preseason is when he looking and he throws the ball. Sometimes he throws it too hard so that it won't get picked off. And then also sometimes he'll throw it out of bounds because they got no play to live to play the next day. That's something that you got to look at the quarterback as he progresses in his season, progressing his time and stuff. Is to look at the different areas of the football field. If he has nothing, throw it away and live for another down. That's why you have 3 downs, try to get the first down, or stuff like that too. We got to get good plays on the first down. We got to get 3 or 4 yards. Technically, you want 4 yards every play. If you get 4 yards every play, you got a first down on the third down. That's the key. On your first down, you don't want to go back 5 yards. You don't want to go back 10. You don't want to get a holding call that sets you back. You have a drive going. You want to keep going with the drive. You don't want no penalties going. And the penalties has been far less in these preseason games for the Jaguars. That's something that was changing here. Whenever Meyer was here, they were getting flagged left and right. I mean, they had about 10 penalties almost a game. So, I mean, the penalties, mistakes, and stuff like that is not canon, really. They look like a little bit better than not getting too many key penalties and the key at the wrong time of the game. It just key turnovers at points of games in this preseason has really hurt the Jaguars. I mean, you had Perry come in, throw an interception, boom, they turned that momentum around and flipped it. And I mean, the starters were playing great all the way up to the point where they threw that interception and it came around against Pittsburgh. And then when the starters left at Cleveland, they just fell apart when the second, third, and fourth string came in for the Jaguars. So, I mean, the first team did great, held in Cleveland to seven yards total offense in that game. And so, I mean, that's something that you got to look at here, and something that you got to really, really think about in these proceedings and stuff like that. So, I mean, to me, the Jaguars are doing what they need to do here in preseason. They getting up in the learning curve. They learning their position, they're learning their craft, learning what the coach is teaching them, and putting that on the field. If they can translate what they're doing here and translate the starters now playing all 4 quarters, and hopefully we'll get some good similarities of what we need to see here going on in that first game. Hopefully they get a win that coming out of Washington, coming back here to Jacksonville. If they can get that win out of Washington in the first week, that might get them set a little bit of momentum and get a little bit of positive attitude. They'll keep working harder and every day and be that Jacksonville Jaguars that we've seen when they were making that run in their 90s, and that 2017 team also making that great run in the playoffs. So, I mean, this is something that you got to really look at here in Jacksonville. Can they make the stride that they did in 2017? And that's got to be a key, and that's got to be up to Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback position, and it's got to be up to the wide receivers making plays when they get the ball instead of dropping these balls that hit them right in their freaking hands and getting their stuff in very unique situations. So, I mean, that's something that you got to look at here for the Jacksonville Jaguars and being positive going out of this last game here. This last game here is going to probably be all the second, third, and fourth string. People are trying to make the team to try to impress the coaches and also trying to make their highlight film is so when they send around the NFL, if they do get cut here from Jacksonville, and the same thing with everybody else on the other team. And that's the thing too for Atlanta. Atlanta's the same way here. They're in that situation where they got Ryan left. Now they got the quarter. They're looking for their quarterback of the future. And so now you got two teams right now that don't have. We have a little bit of an identity at quarterback, but Atlanta don't. And then we need to get identity on defense. We need to bring back Sacksville. We need to bring back all the sack masters here in like they did in 2017. So I think if we get it straight here and straight where we need to be, I think Jacksonville Jaguars could be the team that could make at least a wild card playoff run at the end, or be right there at it, being a close, niche on that last wild card spot. So, I mean, that's going to be a win for Jacksonville if they can get that wild card, if he can improve. To me, you need to build. You only had one win last year. We need to build off that one win. We need to build down. We need to get up and see if we can pull up 5 or 6 more wins here. Maybe to pull 7 wins, maybe out of somewhere. If we can get 8 wins here, that'd be great. That'd be a good starting point. And then we can feed into it, and hopefully we get people saying, okay, Jacksonville went from 1-16, to 8-8, in that 1 year span with Doug Peterson here. That's got to be a win for Jacksonville. I mean, anything that is over that one win is a little bit of a positive. It's not what fans want, but it's a positive of building. It's a positive in your mindset of win. Keep improving every year. Keep improving your wins. That's all the Jacksonville Jaguars fans. We want to improve the wins, and we want to get to the Super Bowl. And that's the key. We have to build a winning culture here. And that's something that Doug Peterson has addressed to his beat. We want to provide a winning team for this fan base. That's the Jaguars thing here going into the season. We want to build a winning culture. We don't want to be known as a losing culture. We want to be a winning culture, and we want to be contending for the playoff spots over and over every year. We don't want to be a team that's saying, okay, we can't do this, we can't do that, or we get laughed at or stuff like that. We want to turn this team into a winning culture here in Jacksonville. They did it in the 90s. They did it in that, after the inaugural season, Burnell and all them, and Bo Selly, and then Lagerman, and then, Fred Taylor. Then, you added then you keep adding Keenan McCardell, you added Jimmy Smith, and boom, all of a sudden it took off. That one big win and the whole thing here. In 2017, the same way, it took off. It took off in that playoff, and we got all the way up to that AFC Championship game, and we could have put it away, but they said Miles Jackson was down, but he wasn't really down if you look at the video of that. So, I mean, that right there, and then we went back to a losing culture, and then we added a college coach that I think was a bad mistake in the beginning. I told my friends that when I was watching that. I said, when they hired Urban Myers, I said, yeah, they only hired him because he was a winner in college. That doesn't usually translate. Look at Nick Saban. He was a winner in college, and then he came to the NFL. It didn't translate that. Only people that really translated coming out of college really was Jimmy Johnson. Coming out of Miami. I mean, it took him a while, but he got that thing going, and he got built that Dallas Cowboys, and boom, all of a sudden it took off a little bit. So, to me, I think that's Jacksonville try to go to a college coach with like a winning person to try to build a winning culture, but then he had a lot of freaking skeletons in his closet, And that proved him in that Cincinnati when he went to Cincinnati and they almost took that game. But the team went back and he stayed up there in his restaurant getting grinded on by one of his patrons in his restaurant, his own restaurant up there. And then got around the thing. I think that just started the downfall for him. And I mean, Jacksonville was never in contention. I mean, you can tell when you go in as a fan. You can tell when you go into TIAA Bank Stadium. You can tell what the atmosphere could be or could not be, you know. And with Doug Marrone here, the atmosphere was up there, but then it just like lustered and it didn't really, you know, go anywhere. But then Urban Meyer County, you felt the atmosphere being like a college atmosphere, you know. But then time to turn it, you know, time to tell, and it didn't seem right, and it didn't seem right after the preseason, and it never got the fans' attitude where they needed to be. And then Doug Peterson here, you know, the first preseason game here in Jacksonville against Cleveland, it just seemed like an atmosphere of the NFL. It just seemed like, you know, we're going to see something here. And I mean, we did see something there. We did have, you know, we saw some good play. We saw some, you know, bad plays from the second and third string. You know, the first string wasn't very stellar either because they were trying to get touchdowns, but, you know, they only got that one score, that one touchdown out of the whole out of the first quarter of that preseason game against Cleveland. Then they got one in here against Pittsburgh. But I mean, we need more than just one. We need like 5 or 6. We need to get on a scoring drive, man. Like I said, we need, if we turn the ball, we get interceptions on defense. We got to turn those into points, not field goals, or not going 3 and out and getting the ball right back to them. You know, that's what you call about football. You call it empty possessions. And Jaguars need to have the other team have a lot of empty possessions that we could turn into scoring possessions for us. We need steal possessions to win games. And that's still the possession is you go make a team go 3 and out, or you turn them over, and then you punch their mistakes of not scoring and touching them and turning them touchdowns. You know, you could kick a little bit of field goals, but you need more touchdowns than you do field goals in games to win NFL games. And you need more stealing possessions from other teams. And if you get your play count up, you can tire the other team out. Not the other way around. You getting tired out because you're not doing anything on offense. And that's what Jacksonville has done here lately. They, until the last game against the Colts, they turned it up the notch against the Indianapolis Colts in that game. They won that game, but they scored more touchdowns than field goals in that ball game. So I mean, that's something you got to look at too. You got to steal possessions. As a key of football, you got to turn them over or make them go 3 and out. That's called stealing possession because they didn't score. They didn't kick a field goal. They didn't get any points out of that. That's a stolen possession. That's a possession that you want. Now you need to take that win and cash it in on your side and make them pay. So every time they don't score and you score, that's good because you're getting more points on the board than the other team. And that's something that, you know, NFL coaches got to preach about. And to me, I like to see when the defense is mixing up with man and zone, not staying in zone all the time because on zone, really, your zone should be in from the 20 on out and, you know, mixing in from the other 20 to the, you know, from 120 to the other 20. You mix it in, and then you can play that zone down in that red zone because it's a shorter field and there's not a whole field that you got to cover. But if you play man-to-man, you get a chance to jump them off the line, mess up that timing route on the other team. That's what Jacksonville cannot do. Jacksonville somehow is they play these zones and the other team just run a 5 yard and out. Boom, the ball's right there. They catch the ball, and then you put your guys in position to have to make tackles, and sometimes they don't even make the tackle. They get about 5 or 6 extra yards down the field. So, I mean, that's something that Jacksonville's got to – that defense has got to shore up. Their defensive coordinator got to put a little bit of pressure. And that's what I'm talking about Jacksonville. I mean, we got to bring back the sacks. We got to get pressure in there. We got to get – quarterbacks are too happy to sit back there and let our pass – because we know we didn't get no good pass rush last year. They were just picking us apart. And if they did get a pass rush, I mean, the other team, the corners let the other wide receiver get wide open. Boom, they get a hit a completion. The next thing you know, you're on the back pedal and trying to get them down before they get across the 50. So, I mean, that's something that you have to look at where Jacksonville here is. Can Jacksonville do what they need to do and get them MP possessions? And can they do it against Atlanta tonight, Saturday? That's got to be a question. Can their second team, third string team put a complete game together and try to win this game? At least come out of there not going 0-4 in preseason. But we also know that some teams who go 0-4 in preseason doesn't contribute what they do in regular season, because now your starters are playing full quarters against their other team's starters playing the full 4 quarters. Now you're getting into the strategy. You're building your strategy up. You're not really showing your full hand in preseason. That's something that everything is vanilla. You don't want to tip your hand what you're going to run in regular season here now. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get them tapes to where they can start preparing, because after this preseason game, they don't play again till they don't play until September. September 11th. So that's that's a Sunday at 1:00. So I mean, you got about two weeks. 2 weeks after this last preseason game, get everything that you need to get done, get the cuts out of the way, build your 53-man roster, get the team out there and get them practice for the first 2 weeks and going up into. Then you leave on a Saturday and you head to Washington, land over Maryland to play the Washington Commanders. And hopefully we can come out and we put what we need to do and put the win out there. That's got to be the key of what we need to see here. We need to see this team evolve. We need to see them evolve that first game. We need to see them take it to the Washington Commanders, which Washington Commanders don't take the field against the Jaguars. We need to set that tone here. We can set the first presence and tone on that first preseason, on the first regular season game for the year, for that come out with a victory and put teams on notice. They're gonna have to prepare for us, and that's something that we need to think about. How can we do that? That's what the coaches need to figure out. Excuse me. Yeah, get some water there. So that's something that we have to look at here, and that's something we really, really have to figure out here in Jacksonville as a Jaguar, as a fan. What team are we going to put out there on 9/11, first game of the week 1 against the Washington Commanders? Will it be a team that we put out there that played excellent against the Colts at the last season? Carry that momentum that last few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, that momentum that we had built up. Can we carry from that thing all through the offseason up to this first game? This has got to be a first game. This has got to be a battle. There's got to be putting them Commanders on notice right now and say, hey, we're coming for you. We're going to come up there. We're going to knock your heads off. We're going to take you down. We're going to score touchdowns. We're going to put points on that. We're going to make you, not breathe up there. We want to put pressure on. We want to keep pressure on you for the first 4 all the way to the end. When the time starts, to the double zeros on the scoreboard in the 4th quarter, and we're up by a touchdown or a field goal, whatever much we win by. That's something that we have to figure out and how to win. And then this last game here of this regular season is going to be a telltale of our death turn. And I hate to tell you that's going to be the thing, unless we can find somebody to let somebody cut that they didn't think it could make their situation, but it turns out to be a good fit for Jacksonville. Something that, some teams got players they cut, doesn't fit their scheme, doesn't fit their system, but it might fit your system. That's something that our scouters got to be out there. They got to look for this. They got to be out there. They got to be there. They got to be scouting these people that are letting go. They got to be everything they need to do. They got to be out there. They got to figure it out. That's something that they need to figure out here in this preseason game against Atlanta here. Let's take a look here. Let's break down Atlanta's preseason games here and see what they look like here with their preseason thing here in 2022. Let's see if I can get to bringing up their schedule. Let's see here. Let's see here. The Falcons, August 22nd. Game against the Jets here. Let's take a look here at their stuff here. Let's look and see what kind of stuff they got going on and what we compare from the last preseason game to our preseason game, and see how we can compare a good parameter on this game coming up here. And that's something that Jacksonville has to do. They have to play solid and stuff like that. If you look at the Falcon Ritter, 10 for 13, 143 yards. The rushing game for Atlanta was 5 carries, 45 yards by Franks. So Fupi Franks carried the ball 5 times for 45 yards. They lost to the Jets 24-16. After the first quarter, it was 10-0 Falcons. So their starters played pretty good. I don't know if the starters played all the way up into the. Looked like they did because the second quarter they scored 6 points, so it was 16-3 after the second quarter. And then their offense didn't sputter. They didn't score anything. They lost 24-16 in that game. So I mean, if you look at Atlanta had total offense 380 yards to Jets 279. They turned the ball over once. Jets turned the ball over once. Atlanta had more first downs at 17 out of 14. But this is not really a telltale sign because it's preseason. You really can't tell a team how good a team's going to be in preseason because when your starters only play, the first preseason game they didn't play at all again the Hall of Fame game. Then the first preseason game they played the first quarter, and then a little bit into the second quarter they get their first touchdown against Cleveland, and then Pittsburgh they played all the way up to halftime, and they were losing 7-6 going into halftime. Coming out of halftime, Jaguars played pretty good and they kept the pressure up, and then they had some breaks on that third and fourth string defense, and then boom, all of a sudden they get back up and the quarterback let them down to a last-second field goal try to win the ball game, but he went wide to the right. So that's another issue that the Jaguars got to come in. Let's see if that has fulfilled in this preseason game. That's going to be something we got to look at too in this preseason game is the field goal kicker because that's something that was hurting us in these preseason games. Here is a field goal kicker. So let's see if anything that came along. I think they went out and got somebody off the waiver wire here. So let's see if we can see here. This one day ago here, Jaguars waived third kicker of camp and cleared a spot for McCourt. Last time McCourt kicked, he was with the Los Angeles Chargers. Place kicker McCourt kicks a field goal back in August of 2022 in Inglewood. So we went out and got James McCourt. Lambeau came from the Chargers too. So I mean, this could be a philosophic in this Charger guy to come in and be a different maker like Lambeau was here when he was kicking field goals. The Los Angeles Chargers on Tuesday and cut Ryan Sassman. That's the guy who missed the kick wide right. They replaced him with that, and then the previous is the Andrew Milvis and Elliott Fry shot at the job before parting with both. So this is the third field goal kicker we cut. The fourth field goal kicker we have brought in. Let's see how he does in this game against the line. That's got to be something that's got to be terrifying too, because Jacksonville was here. Eventually had some great field goal kickers in Scobie and in Lambeau. Now we're going to turn it over to James McCourt. Let's see how James McCourt can do here up in this regular season and stuff like that. So in this preseason game, and that's going to be a key that you need to watch too. So the keys in this ball game you need to watch the offensive line, see if we can get some line up in there and see if we can get some depth out of there. You want to look at some of the defensive line, see if we can build some depth in the linebacker position, a little bit of depth. And corner, we need to see about the corner if we can build some depth out of there on our own roster, or are we going to have to go out and look some pieces from teams that let go and see if they fit our schemes. So that's some of the keys you need to look at in this Saturday at 3:00 football game. So I mean that's going to be a very telltale place, and that's something that we got to look at here in these oncoming season and these oncoming ways of see what the Jaguars can do here, and in this field of coming together. And Mercedes-Benz, like I said, they were up in right now on Wednesday and Thursday. We're practicing with the Falcons. They do the walkthrough on Friday, and they get the game on Saturday at 3:00. So let's see what 3 o'clock comes around. See if any of the starters do play at least one series. In my opinion, I don't think they should play. I think they should get the second preseason because then some of the starters didn't play in the Hall of Fame game, some did. We need to figure out if they're gonna let Walker play in this game a little bit here in the first couple series and see if you get the lather on them. And that's all it is just keeping their reps up and seeing. But now that thing we got to see is how does Doug Peterson make changes at halftime, week one, if the Jaguars are down and stuff like that. Because usually the first game is a toe-to-toe tale of a little bit of rust. How do they make halftime adjustments? How do they come out in the second quarter if they're down, or the third quarter if they're down, they're coming out at halftime? How can the in-game adjustments? Every team's got to make in-game adjustments. How his in-game adjustments going to do it? How do they respond? What the Jaguars going to do if they go out 3 and out? Are they going to put their head down and suffer? Is the defense going to keep the game where they can keep it up? And hopefully the Jaguars offense can provide, or if the defense can provide them in good field position, turn it into touchdowns. That's what these empty possessions I've been talking about, I've been preaching about. We have to get other teams empty possessions, and we have to steal those empty possessions, score a touchdown. And that's the thing that the Jaguars have not done in the last 3 or 4 years, has converted some good key turnovers and keeping the other teams out of the end zone. So that's got to be a good sign too. So I mean, that's something that we got to look at, and that's something that we got to figure out in the scheme of things of Doug Peterson and stuff. So that's something that we have to keep looking for and coming up in ways too. And moving right along here, let's see here. Yeah, like it says, it's at Saturday on week 3 preseason, Saturday at 3 p.m. You can, here in Jacksonville, you can see it on the WJAX TV and NFL Network, or you can listen to it on WJXL 1010 AM, 92.5 or 99.9 FM here in the Jacksonville area. Or if you got Sirius Radio anywhere in the United States, if you got Sirius Radio every night in the morning, you can listen also on the Sirius Radio too for the Jaguars game, and then we can make your feelings here if you can, think. And another interesting, if you ever want to listen to a game on radio, I did the Super Bowl back when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was playing, and you could hear them. Against Kansas City, you can hear, because Kurt Warner did an outstanding job, because he described everything that was going on, and I think our radio crew here in Jacksonville is outstanding. It's good. Frank Frangie, he's good on the voice, but I think Loggeman and Tony Baselli is very, very great on the color commentary and the way they describe stuff, the way they talk about things, and how they think. I think it's very interesting to see how that goes on this year in the season. So that's something that we got to really, really think about in the season here is what we're going to do with Jacksonville. What is Jacksonville going to do here? What kind of progress does Trevor Lawrence make here? Can he? I'm reading right now. They're saying Trevor Lawrence is not expected to play against the Falcons in the Jacksonville final preseason game Saturday on Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Said he is pleased with the progress doing. I'm feeling more and more confidence each day. That's a quote from Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence. So I mean, he's feeling confident. He's not. He can get down. He's got that confidence going. And now the question is, can he keep that confidence going through the season? If he makes that one interception, is he gonna shy away? Is he gonna put it? Quarterbacks have to have short memory. They got to have short memories of the interception they throw. They got to be ready for the next play. Can't be present. If they can handle that, then that'd be great quarterbacks. So that's something that you got to really, really think about here, is to really think about the situation that they are looking at, and they're way of thinking as a quarterback is you got to have a really, really short memory. If you throw that interception, and can Trevor Lawrence be that if he does throw an interception? And last year he really didn't cope very well with it. Some games he played very well, did some very things and stuff like that. The second year quarterback said Wednesday, shortly after the first of two dual practices with the Falcons at Falcons facility. As far as the offense as goes, I feel really, really comfortable. I'm feeling more and more confident each day, and I feel really, really good where I am in with the receivers, tight end, running back, and protection. And that's all a quote from Lawrence and the offensive coordinator, Taylor. Each spoke Wednesday about Lawrence's goal in the training camp, beginning to master the head coach Doug Peterson's offense and developing chemistry with multiple new offensive skill positions as well as operating as the line of scrimmage. So that's something he has to really, really, really learn too, is to operate the line of scrimmage, how he makes up his cadence. Try to get some offsides on the defense. Try to get his offensive, a step ahead. You cannot let the defense time up his snap count. He has to change his cadence. He has to change different things. Use some of the hard counts. That's what they do. That's what they do in the NFL. They got to use some of the hard counts, and that's something that we really, really got to think about too. Is them using that hard count and mixing it up and not always going on first. And also, I hated last year. Half of the time they went on the first play, run up the middle on first down, run up the middle, boom, don't give up 2 yards. Oh, we got 2 yards. Let's run up the middle again. Oh, we got 1 yard this time. That's something that you don't want to see. You want to see the offense be dimensional. They want to be multi-dimensional. You want to see them going different directions and different plays and stuff like that. So, that's something that you want to see. You don't want to see him. Sometimes I try to run outside a little bit. Trying to mix it up with the pass action play action pass. Mix it up with the passing game, not coming out there and showing a run formation, or sometimes run out of a pass formation. You got to mix your offensive plays up a little bit. You cannot be, deciding which, you want to run up the middle, run up the middle twice, run up the middle 3 times, and you maybe got 5 yards out of the whole ordeal, out of the whole run up the middle last year. And then all of a sudden you're pass and you got your quarterback running for his life because everybody knows it's going to be a pass play. So, you got to figure that out. Jacksonville's got to figure out their dimensional plays. This is a good time to do it because you're not hitting your own players. You're hitting the other team players right now in these two scrimmages on Wednesdays and Friday, on Wednesdays and Thursday. You do a walkthrough on Friday. You get ready for the game. Your starters probably not going to play. You might see maybe 1 or 2 maybe here and there sprinkled in, probably, maybe. But we don't know how far this is going to be, and we don't know which team is going to be out there. Can the second and third string pull out this victory here? That's who's going to be. That's the thing that we need to see here. We need to see who's on our depth chart. These are the times that the backups get to go out there and perform and show the coach, hey, I belong here on this team. I want to be on this team. I want to help you here. I can do this. I can be on your team and help you. And that's what you want to see out of this last preseason game. So, you had that one extra preseason game in the Hall of Fame when Tony Baselli went into the Hall of Fame for the first Jaguars ever into the Hall of Fame. So, that's a very good, way to get the extra practice and extra game rep for the backups. So now this is the next game that the backups get really, really, really to play in more and more and get to start out the game. So we're going to see how this team does in that, and we're going to see what kind of barometer we can set out of this tone for the next 2 weeks after this to go up and play up to 9/11, going up to Landover, Maryland, to FedEx. It used to be FedEx. So I don't know I think they changed the name. Up in Landover, Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C. Not really in Washington, D.C. They're in Maryland, about 15 miles outside of D.C. Traffic up there is going to be a pain in the butt. If you're going to the game up there, you might as well you want to leave early. Game set 1 o'clock. You might want to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning if you're up there. That's how bad that traffic gets. That traffic gets really bad up in the Washington, D.C. area, Landover, Maryland, especially on game day. That's going to be even more hellacious of traffic up there. So if you're going to a game if the Jags fans going up there, you may either want to get a hotel near the stadium, or if you got to get away from the stadium, you want to get into that football field and be there when kickoff starts, you might want to leave home, or you might want to leave your hotel, depending on how far you are from it, and maybe like 6, 7, 5 in the morning, and you might be some of that traffic up there, and you might get up there, and you might have to wait outside the gate for it, but you're there. At least you're there, and you can get your parking spot, boom, get into the stadium, get ready for the Jaguars' victory, and get back out of the stadium, and then you're going to be in that long traffic. But it's going to be one of them happy moments if the Jaguars win. You get in that long traffic, and you be sitting there, listening to the other team's broadcast and complaining about what they did wrong, how did Jacksonville beat them. And that's something that we need to look at here, too, that if we can do this, we can start building momentum. And then here in Jacksonville, what we want to see in our stadium is nothing but Jag fans. We don't want to be outnumbered by the visiting team fans no more. We want to have more number of Jacksonville fans than we did the visiting team fans. And that's something that we have to do here. We have to build a winning culture, and that's the only way you can build that winning culture. So, that's the only thing I can tell you right now is this last preseason game, you need to watch all the backups. We need to find out who's going to be cut, who's going to stay. Everything I think the cut has to be made on Tuesday. On the let's see here. Yeah, everything at 3 o'clock on August 30th at 4 o'clock. Everything we should be done. We have a 53-man roster. We'll find out who got cut, who's on the move. If we cut some people and picked up other people from other teams, so that's all be here now. Be covered up on Sunday, August 28th at 9:30. Jags Nation all the way up to 11 o'clock. And we'll talk about the Atlanta Falcons game and what we saw and see if we can anticipate some cuts maybe before then. If that is, I'll bring it to you. This has been Ray Cruz on the Jags Nation. And everybody, I wish everybody a good night, and I'll see you on Sunday. Go Jags.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're out in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.